Seed Solution is a 501c3 nonprofit company that sends seeds, supplies, infrastructure, food, and funds all over the world. We've been told that we save lives. Where in the world do these seeds go? They've been to the Philippines, they've been to Nicaragua, Haiti, Venezuela, Liberia, Uganda, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Nepal, 23 different special ed schools in the United States, Sowers Alternative High School in Kansas. We send seeds anywhere that we think we can make a difference. We even have seeds at Ramapo College, Master of Special Education programs. In the greenhouses they've been at Rutgers. They've been sent to the New Jersey Agricultural Society, various adult disability programs, and surely there is more to come. According to Rutgers, a child dies of hunger every 15 seconds in this world. Seeds can feed food insecure people. Food insecurity is the biggest problem around the world, particularly when people are on the move. There's 60 million people right now on the move around the world. People that are on the move and are heading for refugee camps are not planting in their backyards. They're very food insecure. So as we try to help people, we try to send them the seeds that they need and the support that they need to learn how to grow the seed to food, how to grow the seed to maturity so that they can learn to save the seed themselves and not have to buy seed every year, but they can plant what they save. This has been done since time immemorial, but the knowledge, especially in the United States, it's not being taught much anymore. So each generation has to learn how to take care of itself. Seed Solution has fed over 15,000 people around the world. There are many benefits that come with better food and nutrition, particularly for children. 1/3 of the children of Liberia and Uganda are stunted from lack of nutrition in the formative years from 0 to 5. If children have access to the seeds and can eat nutritious food, there's much less stunting. They have improvement in health. You can see the food on their faces over time. The faces fill in, they're less hollow, the bones aren't sticking out anymore. Saving seed is something that can be done to help other communities, other schools, or impoverished people. Community by community, you can get this seed to the next ridgeline, get this seed to the next village over, make trades. Food security allows for, hey, I can give you some of this seed if you give me some eggs or some milk. And so the quality of the nutrition improves with the diversity of food supply. Students learn leadership skills when they're working with food. They have to make a team. The garden work has to be done. The earth has to be turned. Crops have to be irrigated. Here's the next bucket. Where's the next pair of hands? It doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. It's just the work that has to be done. Each task can be broken down, and it gives the kids opportunities to become leaders. Agricultural literacy allows people all over the world to be self-sufficient. If they know how to take care of themselves and how to feed themselves, whether it's plant husbandry or animal husbandry, once the knowledge is learned, you know how to do it for life, like riding a bicycle. If you can grow a tomato this year, you can grow a tomato next year. Same thing with a chicken or a cow. Around the world, we also try to improve the water and sanitation. We found out that we can't help everybody because many people don't have any water at all. There are schools, and particularly in Africa, that have no water supply. How can they possibly grow anything without water? Water is life. First, we have to come up with a solution for their water issues, and then we can help them learn to grow. So there's a learning curve in some areas. Improved water means improved sanitation. If you have enough water, you can wash your hands before you eat, especially with potable water. Many places that we help that the water contains parasites. So that problem has to be addressed. The kids are going to be using that water. Having water on hand means that students don't have to spend time looking for water. Instead, they're in the classroom where they can learn more and they can be more self-sustainable and more self-reliant. Having food on hand allows that food to be used for agricultural science purposes, business opportunities. They can enter their food in the local and state agricultural fairs. They can sell the difference or trade the difference. So there's many opportunities that can grow from having access to food. It's more than food security. We've seen benefits in education. There's no child brides, common practice in parts of Africa, particularly Kenya. No female genital cutting, which is, by American standards, a horrible cultural practice. If they want our seeds, then they have to agree that they're not going to support those activities. It's working. They are doing it. It improves gender equality. Farms need workers. Workers are gender neutral. It doesn't matter if, the person planting is male or female. What matters is that the work gets done. Since there are many places that don't have gardens, and we are incorporating gardens into these schools or into these orphanages or into these institutions, we're allowing them to be built from the get-go with universal design improvements. UDI, universal design improvement, means more accessibility to more types of people. So picture a mother with a toddler in tow, or picture an elderly person walking with a cane or a walker or a wheelchair. You can build the school garden, because it doesn't exist yet, and you can plan it so that it's accessible to all different kinds of people, more aligned with what we call in the U.S. ADA principles, American with Disabilities Act principles. They don't have ADA in other countries. So, if you're crippled, you can't go to school in many places around the world. But this, building the school gardens with those principles in mind, let's not use stairs, let's use ramps if there's different heights in the garden. Simple things like that allows more accessibility so that elderly grandparents could come and maybe see the kindergarten class graduating in the garden. That's the idea of implementing universal design improvements into these areas. It helps create sensitivity and awareness to make this possible for many people. Over time, these little changes have a snowball effect, and communities can actually be lifted out of poverty with something as simple as some seeds for the year. Amazing to watch. Here's Chief Kulumbu in Kenya standing in front of a giant field of beans that came to him in a couple of kitty litter buckets in February 2019. If you remember, the following year, COVID hit. But they learned not only to grow their food, they learned to save their seed, and they had plenty of food during COVID when all the markets in Kenya were closed. On the other side, you see Mara and her husband, Roland Mburu, and they are our advisors in Narok, Kenya. She planted 10,000 onions in 1 acre, and what you're seeing there is a mountain of onions in her living room. She wrote me a text message, "I can't believe we're making money farming." Because it's one thing to be a subsistence farmer, and it's something else to actually have a crop lift you out of poverty. She had onions in Kenya when nobody had onions in Kenya because they normally come from Tanzania. But all the markets were closed, so there weren't any onions from Tanzania because the borders were closed. But there was Mara's onions, so those red onions were the only onions available in her area. She did very, very well. Here we are in Venezuela. These boys here are holding up seeds that were donated to Seed Solution by Lake Valley. Those seeds are being delivered by that horse, ridgeline to ridgeline. So those kids are giving seeds to their grandparents on the other side of the mountain, to their cousins. But the point is that the seeds are moving along to feed various populations high in the hills there in Venezuela, where a political crisis has led to gigantic inflation rates of over 9,000 people, and hunger is at the door for many. These seeds are brought in by horseback because there's no gasoline. Gas shortages are rampant in Venezuela. So with the seeds in their hands, each child is responsible for their own plot. They water, they weed, they harvest. The success is the food that they eat. They're learning what we call agricultural literacy. They're learning how to grow their own food, something that up to recent times, has been taught in every corner of the world. Whether your agriculture is animal related or plant related, people learned how to feed themselves all over the world. The benefits of this program are this child, first of all, will eat tonight. He's learning his agricultural literacy. He'll be able to grow food for the rest of his life. The saving of seed is sustainable. It doesn't cost any money to save seeds. You just save seeds, and then you plant them the following season. The work on a farm is gender neutral. If the plants have to be watered, the plants don't care if the waterer is male or female. They just need water. So the next pair of hands, the next pair of hands, the next pair of hands does the work. Finally, they can share or sell the extra food and become entrepreneurs, learning real-life business skills. But what we learned was in some places in the world, they're not ready for seeds because they don't have any infrastructure. You have to have water to be able to grow baby plants, and sometimes there isn't any water. So in those places, we're learning that if we can get them a water tower where they can harvest the rainwater during the rainy season, that helps have the water supply that they need to be able to irrigate baby crops. In Liberia, the Minister of Education there for 4-H, wonderful man by the name of G. Umaru Sharif, was the winner of the Nelson Mandela Fellowship Award. He came to the USA, the University of Kentucky, and he came up to my club and thanked them personally here in New Jersey for the lives that they saved by the 50-pound box of seeds that we sent during the Ebola crisis. Umaru is now the head of not only Liberian 4-H, but he also represents all of the continent of Africa in the International 4-H program. We just sent him 25 computers through our shipping container. That's a big deal because now all of his field staff have a way to communicate, to write reports, to take pictures, and to improve the quality of the data. This man is single-handedly changing the nature of agriculture in the country of Liberia. 4-H there is just one program. Food, 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 food. And he's doing it. He also delivered 5 computers for us to a missionary group called the Po River Medical Clinic. They needed a few computers, and he brought over some for us. So one thing about our missionaries is they can reach out and they can help with this project or that project, much like the water engineer we have in Nepal. He goes to Nepal regularly, but he gives us advice on water solutions that might work in places where it's too arid to grow plants without some sort of infrastructure. We're now on our 6th water tower. Miklavaj also delivers seeds to Nepal. To our advisor there, his name is Madhav Yoshi. His daughter is studying to be a doctor in the USA, thanks to Seed Solution. She is our student ambassador. Recently, I got 5 phone calls in one day. In Sri Lanka, there's blood in the streets from food riots. In Kenya, gas prices made Kenya a walking nation overnight. In Uganda, food prices quadrupled in 1 week. In Nepal, food scarcity is becoming dire as India and China both hoard food. In Liberia, our ambassador there tells us he has only rice to eat. This all happened the same week that the USA was worried about who slapped who at the Oscars. Some world headlines that week. CF Industries warns of nitrogen fertilizer shipment delays. From Canada, the fertilizer that normally comes didn't. The CDC reported killing almost 31 million chickens due to bird flu. It's planting season in the Ukraine, and the Ukraine didn't get planted because of the global situation there. So it looks like there's going to be global food supply problems later this year. China is in food hoarding mode, and it's pushing grain prices to historic highs. 16 processing plants for food in the USA have had fires in the last 4 months. 2 were hit by airplanes. So what can you do to help yourself through a pending food crisis? Well, you can store some food yourself for your family. Things that keep a long time would be things like oatmeal, lentils, rice, beans, canned fish or Spam. You can pack your own pantries. You can freeze food. A vacuum sealer will help your food last longer in storage. You can grow some food and try to become more agricultural literate yourself. 100 years ago, 65 to 70% of America grew some of their own food, even if it was just a flower box full of lettuce or a tomato in a pot on their porch. You can plant your terraces. You can plant your backyards. You can also find a farmer, wave some money in front of him, and have him grow your chickens for you. Make friends with farmers. You can learn to can your own food. It's not that hard to boil they call a water bath, to put a jar filled with food in a pot of boiling water and boil it until the lid clamps down and sets what's in the jar. There'll be a distinctive ping when that happens. You could buy emergency food storage items, such as some of these dehydrated foods you might take on a camping trip. Many of them last many years. How can you help a fragile world? Well, if you're traveling, you could become a seed distributor. You can mule in seeds, carry them to a faraway location if you're going to such a place. You can recruit other people to distribute seeds when they travel. You can help be part of the interfaith community that lets us recruit more volunteers. You can contribute something financially. As little as $2, can feed a number of school children. $200 can make a big difference to a school. $2 million just might change the world for those people. If you have knowledge, you can also teach what you know to others. Seed Solution appreciates people like you. We couldn't do what we do if you didn't help us. Thank you for supporting us. We are a 501c3